Good afternoon. This is All India Radio and I'm Anuja Kumar with the Midday News. The headlines. RBI reduces repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.75% in its bi-monthly monetary policy review. Charges on RTGS and NEFT transactions waived off. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar says vehicular pollution to reduce due to implementation of Bharat Stage-6 emission norms from next year. People in India recognize country's stature in world has risen in last 5 years, says External Affairs Minister Jaishankar. In Sudan, opposition activists reject military council's offer of talks following violent crackdown on protesters. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, Australia to take on West Indies at Trent Bridge. The Reserve Bank of India, in its bi-monthly monetary policy review, today reduced the repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.75% from 6.0% with immediate effect. Consequently, the reverse repo rate stands adjusted to 5.50% and the marginal standing facility rate and the bank rate to 6.0%. The six-member Monetary Policy Committee, headed by RBI Governor Shaktikant Das, also unanimously decided to change the stance of monetary policy from neutral to accommodative. Taking into account the weak global demand due to the escalation in trade wars and weakened private consumption in rural areas, Mr. Das informed that the RBI has lowered the GDP growth forecast for 2019-20 to 7% from 7.2%.
MPC also revised the projection of GDP growth for 1920 to 7% in the range of 6.4 to 6.7% for H1 and 7.2 to 7.5% for H2 of 2019-20 with risks evenly balanced.
The RBI governor said that the retail inflation forecast has also been raised, taking into consideration factors like crude prices and expectations of a normal monsoon in 2019.
Taking into account these factors and the impact of the recent policy rate cuts and assuming normal monsoon in 2019, the MPC revised the path of CPI inflation to 3 to 3.1% for H1 2019-20 and 3.4 to 3.7% for H2 of 19-20.
As per the monetary policy statement, India's foreign exchange reserves were at $421.9 billion as on 31st of May 2019. More from a correspondent.
The RBI governor has said the Apex Bank is closely monitoring the non-banking financial sector with a terse message that it will not hesitate to take any measure that is required to maintain the financial stability of the system, including short-term, medium-term and long-term. The RBI will ensure that there is adequate liquidity available in the system for all productive purposes. He added that they are watching the performance of housing finance companies and the internal working group report on liquidity will be put out in public domain soon. With a view to boost digital transactions, Mr. Das added that the RBI has decided to do away with charges levied on RTGS and NEFT transactions and the banks will be required to pass this benefit to the customers. He added, a committee will review ATM charges. Sonali Khadar Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
The next meeting of the MPC is scheduled during August 5th to 7th. Preparations for the 7th Economic Census are underway. In New Delhi today, a workshop of state-level training of trainers for Delhi region is being held. Hundreds of trainers from Delhi region are participating in the training. Speaking on the occasion, Director General, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Jyotirmoy Poddar said that maintaining the data quality will be the topmost priority of the ministry for the census. He said since the Common Service Centres, CSCs, are being partnered in the census for the first time, providing quality training to the workforce of CSCs is the responsibility of the ministry. He said this would make data collected by them effective and of better quality. Mr. Poddar said output of the census will be released in January next year.
This economic census should start until the second fortnight of June and should be completed within 3 months time, and another 3 months it should take to give the results. So by the end of December or in the month of January, the economic census results has to be out.
Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar today said the vehicular pollution will be reduced by 28 to 30% due to implementation of Bharat Stage-6 BS6 emission norms from next year. Speaking at a World Environment Day function in New Delhi, Mr. Javadekar said the BS6 norms compliant vehicles will be available in the country from 2020. He added that this will help in reducing the air pollution. Mr. Javadekar underscored that over 60,000 crore rupees have been invested in this direction. The minister said air quality has improved in the national capital due to the concerted actions of the government. Mr. Javadekar said air pollution is a global challenge and it requires a concerted effort by all stakeholders to deal with the challenge.
सब मिलकर जब समाज काम करने लगता है,
when every stakeholder starts working together, then we will be able to curb the problem of air pollution. Air pollution is a problem for the entire world and each country needs to find its own solution. India will look for its own to defeat the pollution and the country will do better than its target under Paris Agreement.
उससे भी बेटर करेंगे.
Mr. Javadekar also launched a 3-minute short film competition on air pollution for which the last date of entry is 30th of September. Speaking on the occasion, Minister of State of Environment Babul Supriyo appealed to the people to involve themselves in making the planet safe. He said India is among those 9 countries where the forest cover has increased by 1%. Environment Secretary C.K. Mishra was also present on the occasion. Union Minister Piyush Goyal has urged the representatives of industry and exports bodies to stop depending on crutches of subsidies and grants from the central government and strive to make industry more competitive and self-reliant. Addressing a joint meeting of the Board of Trade and the Council of Trade Development and Promotion organized by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and the Directorate General of Foreign Trade in New Delhi today, the Commerce Minister asserted that when subsidies have been done away with, businesses grew. In this context, he gave the example of manufacturing of LED bulbs, which are now available at affordable rates in the market due to higher production. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said a large majority of people have realized that India's stature in the world has risen. Dr. S. Jaishankar was speaking at an event in New Delhi.
The large majority of people in this country recognize that India's standing in the world has gone up, and more important, that this is something that matters to them. I think the assumption that somehow the masses don't care about what the world thinks about us is not true. So that sense that the country is on the move, the world looks at us very differently, and there are consequences to that. That means different expectations, different responsibilities.
The External Affairs Minister further said the 5 years of the government has kept alive and even strengthened the expectations of change in the country.
If you ask me, what was your big takeaway from the election? My takeaway would be that the 5 years of government actually has kept alive and perhaps even strengthened the expectation of change in this country.
Dr. Jaishankar said India's growth can serve as a lifting tide for its neighbours as its economic growth is on the rise. The minister said there is a need to incentivize cooperation in the neighbourhood. He added that there is a greater responsibility for Indian foreign policy to create partnerships and mechanisms which help Indian businesses do their business outside the country. The minister said globalization is under stress and many of the assumptions of the globalization like global supply chains, mobility of talent, market access are no longer assumptions one can make to the same degree. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has paid tributes to the brave warrior of the country, Maharana Pratap, on his birth anniversary. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said Maharana Pratap's life is a symbol of courage, self-respect and valour, which will continue to inspire the countrymen. Back home, the Supreme Court will hear tomorrow a plea by former Karnataka Minister and mining baron G. Janardhan Reddy. Reddy has sought permission to travel to Ballari in Karnataka to visit his ailing father-in-law. Janardhan Reddy, who is accused in a multi-crore illegal mining case and is out on bail, moved the Apex Court today. He sought the Apex Court's permission as he has been barred by a judicial order from visiting his home district. Massive search and rescue operations are on for the missing AN-32 aircraft in Arunachal Pradesh. The IAF aircraft lost contact from the base on Monday afternoon somewhere in Arunachal Pradesh after it took off for Mechuka Advanced Landing Ground from Jorhat in Assam. A joint search operation by civil police, the Air Force and the Army is underway in an area of about 2,500 square kilometers falling under Kaing and Payum Circle of Siang district in the state. Till now, the exact location is not found. Union Minister Hardeep S. Puri launched Swachh Sarvekshan 2020 League in New Delhi today. The league will be a quarterly cleanliness assessment of cities and towns in India and will be integrated with Swachh Sarvekshan 2020, the fifth edition of the annual cleanliness survey of urban India to be conducted between January-February 2020. In Pakistan's Punjab province, at least 10 people were killed and 17 others injured in an indiscriminate firing between two rival groups after Eid prayers yesterday. According to sources, the members of one group were returning to their homes after offering Eid prayers when assailants from another group attacked them in Jalalpur Pirwala Tehsil of Multan district. In Sudan, opposition activists have rejected the offer of talks from the country's military council. Activists said council cannot be trusted amid a violent crackdown on protesters in the capital Khartoum. Meanwhile, officials have denied the report that at least 100 people were killed by a paramilitary unit during protests. They said that the number was at most 46. The deputy head of the military council, Muhammad Hamadan, defended the violent suppression, claiming that the protesters had been infiltrated by rogue elements and drug dealers. The United Nations has said it is relocating some of its staff from Sudan. UN spokeswoman Eri Kaniko said non-program critical staff is being relocated while all operations continue in country. However, no details were provided on the number of staffers leaving Khartoum. Sudan has been engulfed in turmoil since security forces on Monday violently broke up a week-long sit-in by protesters demanding an end to military rule. Sensex at Bombay Stock Exchange plunged 484 points to trade below 40,000 mark at 39,599 a short while ago. Nifty at National Stock Exchange also declined 157 points to deal under 12,000 level at 11,865. In the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup, Australia will take on West Indies at Trent Bridge in Nottingham today. The match is slated to begin at 3 p.m. Last night, India began its campaign with a victory, defeating South Africa by 6 wickets in their opening match at Southampton. India achieved the target of 228 runs with 15 balls to spare. Opener Rohit Sharma hit a blistering unbeaten 122, while Mahendra Singh Dhoni contributed important 34 runs. In the second match yesterday, New Zealand defeated Bangladesh by 2 wickets in a thrilling encounter at Oval in London. International Federation of Hockey Men's Series finals began in Bhubaneswar today. In the first match held in the morning, USA defeated South Africa by 2 goals. The second match will be held between Poland and Uzbekistan at 5 p.m. today. 8-time champions, India will start its campaign against Russia at 7 in the evening. After the match against Russia, India will face Poland tomorrow before taking on Uzbekistan in their final Pool A game on 10th of June. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. RBI reduces repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.75% in its bi-monthly monetary policy review. Charges on RTGS and NEFT transactions waived off. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar says vehicular pollution to reduce due to implementation of Bharat Stage-6 emission norms from next year. People in India recognize country's stature in world has risen in last 5 years, says External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. In Sudan, opposition activists reject military council's offer of talks following violent crackdown on protesters. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, Australia to take on West Indies at Trent Bridge. And with that, we end the Midday News.